Good morning. I trust you have been able to confirm, see clearly in your own practice what we have been bringing up, addressing, raising in these Dharma talks and throughout the retreat. It's valuable to read or listen to different teachings, but finally it's a matter of taking them in and breathing life into them. The essential teaching of Zen is so simple, it's easy to miss or misinterpret or misunderstand. Not because it's some difficult, complex, metaphysical, but because it's so close to home. I trust you have seen through your own practice that finally the difficulty, the hindrance, the obstruction is our own mind. And if we dig a little deeper, we find out that the end of that difficulty, the end of that obstruction, that something that seems to get in the way, that is also our own mind. The end of that delusion is nowhere else. To put it in terms of my own present practice, sickness itself is its own medicine. Do you understand? Taken rightly, our own delusion, our own sickness, our own illness becomes its own medicine. It is the needed medicine. Of course, for the self stuck in itself, it lacks something, it needs to get something else. It's sick, it needs medicine. And round and round and round we go. There's actually a specialized kind of medicine that deals with the illnesses that occur from trying to heal your illness. Because, as you know, people often take so many drugs and so many medicines, have operations. There's a whole school of medicine that deals with this. In other words, the illness that comes from trying to heal. Very interesting. What really is our dis-ease? And what really is the precious medicine? You must dig into this for yourself. The dis-ease is nowhere else. And the medicine is nowhere else. But as long as the mind keeps going, keeps searching, keeps seeking, keeps trying to pretend it's okay when it's not, well, the disease goes on and on. The mind, that is, the senses in their totality, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, physical sensation, and the mind itself, all included. We might speak of it as mind or intellect, emotion, the heart, will, the willpower, all of this come to its own end. Right here and right now. There is no other time or place for it to come to an end. Right here and right now, without one thought, without one intention, without even need for a hope or an expectation. Certainly no need to wait. What are you waiting for? The world is at your feet, and you say, I want more. I want to see it more clearly. I want to extend my samadhi. The whole universe is at your feet, but you don't see it. Or, to put it more precisely, you see it, but you don't. You see it, but then you turn it into something, and then you realize it's gone. It's clear, Ursula? To put it bluntly, the very need to have some kind of an experience that will put an end to this, the very need must come to its own end. Otherwise it drags you here, it drags you there. That's how thoroughgoing the practice must be. Yes, it is right under our feet, right here and now, and yet it must be penetrated thoroughly all the way to the bottom. Otherwise, you know. Well, yeah, last night it was pretty clear. I think, wait a minute. Useless. Yes, less than useless. It just becomes another hindrance, another obstruction, something that we try to get back to. Meanwhile, failing to see that it is right here, right under our feet the whole time. But mind must come to its own end. Otherwise, you can't fall into it. You can't really penetrate it. It just becomes another idea, another concept, another hope, another ideal that you chase after. And then you feel, oh, Michael, the practice is so hard, so frustrating, so difficult. Is it? No, it's you that is frustrating, difficult, and hard. The practice isn't even one. It's here before I've even lifted my finger. And yet you say it's difficult. You say it's frustrating. Take a look. Take a look. Thus, a retreat like this. Thus, sustained, constant practice. Not just on the cushion. Certainly on the cushion. But so thorough that when we get up, the practice itself, the sitting itself, gets up and does what needs to be done. And when the the time is right, it returns to sit again. But it's not beginning the practice again, it's simply continuing that practice. It is continuous. Now, once more in the seated posture. But if it begins when we sit again, and it ends when we get up, well, your practice is not yet mature. It must become constant. It must be the way we are, not something that we do sometimes. Huh? You follow? It's not a hobby. It's got to become what we are. Then it can be spontaneously forgotten without a trace. Then that is not even needed. Huh? That is the way being without self works, naturally. It doesn't need to hold on to anything, especially itself. Thus, it is utterly free. In health, in sickness, in living, in dying, it is utterly free. Free, even from the need to be free. Thus we walk freely through the universe. Huh? With each step, the pure wind rises. Huh? We are coming to the end of this retreat. We have a few precious hours left. Please continue making good use of it. Huh? Practicing properly, you can really have a solid foundation in practice, in sustained zazen, in continuing this samadhi throughout the activities of the day. I trust you see how this kind of a retreat, carefully designed, allows us to really throw ourselves, pour ourselves into the practice, in sitting, during the meals, doing the samu work, taking a break. Hopefully the practice continues there just as well, in a relaxed manner, because we're taking a break. But it doesn't stop, doesn't end. Lying down on our back to take a rest, gently. The focus is here. When we wake up, it's already there. We don't, what was my koan again? The koan wakes up. And it hasn't moved an inch. This is really a refreshing break. But now, later today, to return to the world, the turmoil, the troubles, the difficulties. Yes, that's the real dojo, the place of practice. This room, this is a piece of pie. This is nothing. Now you've got to take this into the world. Without bringing a thing. Without bringing a thing. If you take this experience that you have had and then decide, well, I'm going to take this profound experience back to the world, teach my wife or my children or my co-workers, because of course they're completely ignorant. They weren't doing this. They were, watching video games or something. But I was sitting on my cushion. It's probably not going to go really well. I would suggest instead of doing that, go back and humbly listen to what your friends, your family, your co-workers who may have had to cover for you. What was their experience like in the last 4 days? Huh? What were their joys? What were their sorrows? Find it there. Find it there. Because if it's not there, it's not here. If you find that this is the way for you, it's not for everyone. It's not for everyone. Maybe take some time, a couple of days after the retreat, let the wounds heal, the soreness go away. Go to a spa if you have a chance, huh? And give it a couple of days and see. Is this the way for you? Is this the practice that you must do in this life? If it is, well, you have what you need. Don't try to imitate what we have done for the last 4 days out there. You have other responsibilities. They are just as important as this. Do that well as you did this well. It is just as precious a practice, a dojo, a place of practice, as this is. I urge you to confirm this in your bones. Then, the practice is where you are, what you are doing. It won't always go well, no. Sometimes you'll find yourself getting confused, perhaps angry. Yes, this is a really valuable part of the practice. To humbly see, where does this come from? This is my precious teacher now. Why am I arguing with this person? Why do I feel dislike for this situation? This is practice. You follow? Running away from it is not practice. Escaping from the problems of the world is not practice. Facing them squarely, sincerely and humbly is itself practice. But it must be thoroughgoing. Don't go back talking about the Ukraine and Russia, unless you know in your heart of hearts that Russia is right here. Not to mention the Ukraine. If it's not right here, don't go babbling about it. Right speech is one of the great virtues of Buddhist practice, not just Buddhist life, but the practice. To speak truthfully, humbly, for example, not to put yourself above others or put others below you, but to speak truthfully, honestly, to speak to the situation. If you don't know something, to say, I don't know. I don't know. To humbly not know is itself a great opening, a great teacher. But if you do, from your own experience, have something to say, humbly and clearly express it. This in itself is part of the practice. Zen may be beyond words and letters, but if you cannot express it through words and letters, your practice is lacking. Words and letters are not the only way to express it, for sure. It can be expressed in silence. It can be expressed in action, in many ways. But one of the basic ways of communicating for human beings, words and letters. They can convey something, transmit something genuine, if the words come from the right place. Words and letters can also obstruct, can't they? Can conceal. So be aware. Noble speech as much as noble silence. There's a time to be silent as well. I urge you to nourish, develop these virtues, such as noble speech, noble silence. These are things with joy we can work out in the world, in our interactions with others. And again, at that point, everyone and everything can become a teacher.